start about 45 miles north of Philadelphia in the Lehigh Valley. On the map, it appears as TTown, Pennsylvania, although you might be hard-pressed to find anyone in this area that knows of it. Internationally, however, it is known as TTown, home of some of the greatest cyclists in the world. In the year 2000, TTown saw two of those cyclists rise to incredible heights and fall to the deepest of lows. Again, this is a story better told by those involved. If an epitaph were to have been written for the Lehigh Valley, it might have read, "Here lies a steel town, once prosperous and proud. The industry, after all, has long since passed away. What's left is a rusted, cracking community, still strong in character and grounded in God."
Lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge and recognize Him, and He will direct your paths.
Mike Reinhardt preaches what he practices.
Does anybody know what faith is?
Be brave.
Very good. That's one part of it.
He shares insight laced with anecdotes to a youth group that years ago included his daughter, Nicole.
We took her to the store to buy a tricycle for her, and Nicole was so excited we couldn't even carry the bicycle out of the store. She rode it out of the store.
And this is where the Lehigh Valley, religion, and cycling come together, thanks to the faith of a local landowner and prominent publisher.
Because Bob Rodale is part of Rodale Press, and he donated the land to Lehigh County. That's our local government here. They took the land and started building the velodrome.
Our cycling coverage is being held out in TTown, Pennsylvania. Now, if you don't know where that is, doesn't matter. I didn't know where it was either.
By the mid-'70s, Bob Rodale's vision of a world-class velodrome became reality.
So literally, that's the reason why we've got a velodrome here in TTown, Pennsylvania, of all places.
Well, the track became famous, and a lot of people from all over the world wanted to come to this track.
A few of my pictures.
People like Heinz Walter from Germany. Walter, a world-class cyclist and coach, stores memories in his TTown basement, in a house he wishes he had never bought. Though images of a better time don't quickly say why. There's his son, Michael, a world-class rider himself, until this. One picture stops his thumbs from thumbing and starts his blood pressure rising.
And I still, after all those years from '78, I wake up in the middle of the night and think it's a bad dream, but it's not a bad dream, it's the truth.
While cycling just miles from the velodrome, 18-year-old Michael was hit by a drunk driver and paralyzed from his shoulders down.
And then he was so long in the hospital, we decided to buy that house.
The Walters' devastation would become their new neighbor's unapparent good fortune.
Here's the father.
The story is folklore in T-Town of two brothers, Jason, age 11, and Marty, 13.
Marty, when he lived in the Lehigh Valley, when he was a kid, he was naughty. I mean, he used to throw stones at his neighbor's house.
One day we decided to have a rock throwing contest and see how far we could throw rocks.
When I pulled up to the property, I see all them white stones laying.
We could throw them pretty far, and far enough to bounce a few off the neighbor's roof.
So I go in the house, my son is inside. I said, "What happened, Mike?" He said, "They threw stones at my house. The stones kept hitting the house left and right."
At that point, we didn't think anybody was going to be home, but we got caught red-handed.
So I picked up the stones, and I went over there, knocked on the door, and the two boys come out.
Of course, denied it.
We didn't do it. So I said, next time somebody throws stones at my house, I will break their arm off. And I dropped the stones right there, and I walked away.
My mom drug us over by our ears and made us apologize.
What do? I take them down here in the basement, right? I show him all this team equipment hanging there.
He basically threw up a challenge. He knew we were very athletic. He knew we excelled in sports and asked us if we would be willing to try a developmental program at the velodrome. And we said yeah, and one thing led to another, and here we are.
In the 90s, Marty Northstein became world champion. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Internationally, he became famous, known as the Blade for the way he sliced past opposing riders. In his own backyard, however, only cycling insiders knew of his dominance.
Marty's goal was to win an Olympic gold medal.
So he headed into the '96 games in Atlanta to fulfill America's definition of success.
We have home track advantage here, and I plan to take good use of it. So I want to win here and win convincingly.
Instead, Northstein's home track Olympic experience resulted in a loss to Germany's Jens Fiedler.
And you know what? He didn't win an Olympic gold medal. Marty won a silver medal. But that's not bad. To win any medal is great.
And it resulted in a picture and a memory that lasted 4 years.
I look at it, but again, I don't look at it in bitterness. I don't look at it and going, geez, I should have, would have, could have. I look at it saying, hey, I won an Olympic silver medal, and I gave it everything I had.
Over the course of the following 4 years, he would claim not to think about it much.
Every so often, but not too much about the Olympics.
But the further he rode,
Winning that silver medal, it'll put a good taste and a bad taste in my mouth.
and the more he suffered,
Think about it quite a bit.
the more Marty Nothstein's training was interrupted by memories of that moment.
You know, you usually know if you had it or not. And, at the Olympics, I could have swore I won that race, but the camera proved differently. I think about it pretty much on a daily basis.
4 years later, there he was in Colorado Springs. There he was after winning his 22nd national championship. There, the truth erupted in confident candor.
I would have had Olympic gold medals, but I mean, maybe that much, who knows? I mean, it's just, I still look at the photo some days and can't tell the difference. I ended up with a silver medal.
And it doesn't matter sometimes when you don't win, whether it's an inch, a yard, or a mile. When you don't win, you don't win. But Marty did something that's important, and Nicole did the same thing. And it's one of the most important things people that are real champions do. They didn't let that stop them and say, oh, well, I can't do it, I quit.
Marty went back to T-Town, where Mike Reinhardt's daughter, Nicole, had developed into one of the premier sprinters in the country.
Growing up in Trexlertown, I learned like every level of racing a racer can learn.
They were both from Emmaus High School. They were both local kids.
And like Marty, Nicole was looking forward to competing in the Sydney Olympics, but funding proved difficult, so the course she chose veered off the Velodrome Oval.
She had to readjust her goal and say, I'm going to get to Australia for the Olympics, but it may not be on the track. That's going to be my backup. And she said, I'm going to go and change to the road.
The road led to Mississippi and the Olympic qualifying race.
The winner wins the race, gets to go to the Olympics, and Nicole was favored to win.
It was a day that unfortunately belonged to someone else.
I had a really good chance of winning there, and I didn't. And so for me, you don't always get what you're aiming for.
What Marty did and what Nicole did when they lost, they set new goals or different goals, and they changed the way they were.
4 years after losing the gold in Atlanta, Marty Nothstein had chiseled his 6'4", 220-pound body into an even leaner 200 pounds. He went to the games in Australia more confident than ever.
There's no question about it. There's no secret. There's two guys in this country that carry cycling, and that's myself and Lance Armstrong, and we're the cream of the crop. And I'm not afraid to be outspoken about it.
His attitude has offended other U.S. cyclists.
Getting all burly and being outspoken is it's not going to make you any friends, you know.
But unfortunately, they don't say that to my face. So I mean, that's how chickens half of them are. You know, I don't train to make friends, but I'm sure you'd ask them guys, you know, is he a badass? And they'd say, you better believe it.
Give me a kiss.
Instead of teammates and opponents,
How'd Daddy do?
Nothstein chooses to spend time with his family. And alone in the gym, alone on the track,
I just try to think of how I could better myself.
or simply alone somewhere thinking on his bike.
A lot of times I'll be thinking, man, I want to get home and get to my kids. I love my children. I love my wife. They're my motivation, my inspiration, and you know, I also race for them. I take pride in seeing them at the competition some days, and seeing the look on my son's face when I put a gold medal around his neck, or give him the balloons or flowers, whatever we win.
We always tried to tell her,
Family values, after all, are the essence of T-Town.
you may beat other people, but you don't want to beat up on other people by bragging and by trying to be boastful and try to think you're better than them. Because you know what? Whenever you think that, there's always someone bigger, faster, or stronger there that'll beat up on you.
Instead of Australia, Nicole Reinhardt set her sights on the BMC series, 4 road races offering an unprecedented purse for an unprecedented achievement.
They could win $250,000 if they won 4 races in this race series.
It's a challenge. They expected it to be hard and they didn't want it to be easy, and I have an opportunity to focus the same way I would be focusing and preparing if I was going to the Olympics.
She won the first and then the second.
It was great that I won the second race, but you know, I knew that I could win the race. Going into the third, I had to talk to myself a bit in the race, just tell myself that, you know, $250,000 shouldn't be easy.
But after winning the third race of the series, it now truly appeared all four were attainable.
You know, we'll see what happens in Boston.
We kind of knew she could do it, but when she won the third one, that's when we were like, wow, you know, this is, you know, we're definitely going to Massachusetts to see you.
So the Reinhardts drove to Arlington, Massachusetts, where the race had been moved from Boston to include one particular imposing hill, and Nicole was a sprinter, not a climber.
And people started talking about the hill, and I said, okay, well, there's a hill. You know, I can train for a hill. I ride the hills all the time.
After a pre-race pep talk and a good luck kiss from Dad, Nicole was set for the race of her life. Her approach was an almost Nothstein-like confidence.
It's going to be a huge victory. My friends and my family are here from all around the country.
We had about 19 family members up there, and it was the most exciting race that we had ever seen.
Members of the Saturn team have crashed, and that Nicole Reinhardt was, in fact, in that group.
Then excitement turned to concern. Early in the race, word came to the Reinhardts that Nicole had gone down in a crash.
But we heard from the announcer that she got up and she was back in the race. Problem was she was way behind. So the Saturn team worked together as a unit, and they all dropped back in the race. And finally, with 3 laps to go in the race, Nicole caught up, and the crowd was excited.
Saturn has moved to the front.
From their vantage point at the finish line, the Reinhardts were in position to witness their daughter's crowning moment.
To be able to cross the line and win and have this huge bonus waiting for you, I'm sure it's going to be quite exciting.
As pulses raced, time slowed down just long enough to remember words long ago.
Nicole, God's gift to you was your body. What you do with your body is your gift to God.
Then time stopped altogether.
Oh my God!
1 mile from the finish line, Nicole was descending from that infamous hill.
She hit a huge bump and just lost control of her bike, and she was trying to keep it up and hit the sidewalk and then hit a tree.
I saw her in the beginning of the race, and if I knew this was going to happen, I wish I could have, you know, said bye to her.
At 1:27, on the afternoon of April 17th, Nicole Reinhardt was pronounced dead. She was 24 years old. In Australia, word of Nicole's death was withheld from Marty Nothstein as he attempted to qualify for the gold medal race. Soon after, he received the news. But 4 years of pressure and perseverance were up to the challenge of heartache.
Must go flat out because he's got a bit of a gap on Nothstein, but this man has accelerated like a missile. He's come right up on the back of Russo. Russo is fully committed and the legs on there. Marty Nothstein has He's cruised up the home straight.
That afternoon on the track in Sydney, a father held his son while his mind raced back to TTown. But in body, Marty could not arrive in time for the service honoring Nicole. As a result of cycling, Marty Nothstein came home an Olympic champion.
I knew the service was today. Our thoughts are with her. Unfortunately, we couldn't get home in time, but our prayers are definitely with her.
Oh, Nicole.
As a result of a cycling tragedy, Nicole Reinhardt will never come home again.
I will miss you.
The day would have to be shared. Nicole and Marty grew up together on the track in TTown, grew to race, and grew to win. Somehow, on one day, this cycling community found a way to deal with their ultimate loss and still celebrate their ultimate achievement.
So when I don't understand what God's doing, and trust me, I don't understand why he took Nicole so young, but he did, or why Mike was paralyzed. But there's a reason and a purpose, and someday I'll understand. But I know I have confidence and faith to know that Nicole was a gift from God.
A gift, more precious than gold, yet this medal was forged out of rocks thrown at the house of Heinz Walter.
Yeah, see, now I'm still the schnook and he's the champion.
I said, if you keep this up, you know, wrapping up championships like this,
you could throw some more stones at my house. And he said, when I get home, a big one is going to come.
When Chronicles continue.
I'll have to look at that one on tape.
Yeah, man, y'all got to look at that.
Allen Iverson is wired for sound.